Hello, welcome to our Facebook Live today. I'm so glad to be here with so many of you with Swedish roots in the audience. We have a fabulous session lined up for you today. I can't wait to start. Oh, we're having just a technical glitch, a replay of the Facebook Live in the background, something. But here I think we're back and it's all good now. So thank you everyone for joining us. We can't wait for today's Facebook Live. We are super excited about this one, where we'll be talking about researching Swedish genealogy. A great session that we have set up for you. My Heritage places a lot of importance on global historical records and global roots. And for those of you who are familiar with My Heritage's Swedish historical records, we have 176 million historical records from Sweden on My Heritage. We also recently updated one of our most popular collections that we have on My Heritage, which is actually a Swedish historical record collection, the Sweden Household Examination Books, and we added 19.35 million historical records from 1820 to 1839 to that collection. So we do place a lot of importance on Scandinavia, on Sweden, and all of our historical records, of course. So we're very excited about today's session. We would like to do a little bit of a draw for today's show, and we'll be giving away a My Heritage Complete Plan to one lucky winner in the audience. So in order to enter, all that you have to do is let us know something that you discovered about your Swedish heritage through My Heritage, and just tell us in the comments section and you'll be entered for today's draw. We'll be giving away as I said, a My Heritage Complete Plan, which gives you unlimited access to 14 billion historical records, including all our historical records that we have for Sweden on My Heritage, as well as unlimited access to My Heritage's photo tools, advanced DNA tools, and much, much more. So a fantastic gift that we have to give away today. Just leave us a comment. Let us know what you've discovered about your Swedish roots on My Heritage, or leave a comment or a question for our speaker today, and that will also enter you in today's draw. So we'll be giving that away later. Very, very excited about that. Before we get to today's show, I just want to remind you all, we actually just came out with something very important today. It just went live recently today. We have released, we just announced today the ability to confirm or reject theories when you receive a theory of family relativity in your DNA matches on My Heritage. You can now confirm or reject the theory. So this is something that has been widely requested, and we are so excited to be able to bring it to you. We'll be putting a link to the blog post. So those of you that are My Heritage DNA users, I'm sure you'll be really, really thrilled about that development. And we're very excited to introduce that today. So now, without further ado, I'm going to actually be introducing the My Heritage Sweden country manager, and she'll tell us more about our guest that we have today. So I'm going to introduce Daphna. Hello, Daphna. Let's bring you onto the screen here. Hello, Daphna. How are you?
Hi everyone. Hi Esther.
We're so glad to have you here. I know that you host your own Facebook Lives on the Swedish Facebook channel for My Heritage. So this is a little bit of a different audience.
Yeah, it's really nice to be on the other side for a change. And I'm really glad to be here, and I'm really excited to present our guest speaker, Christina Sagersten. And Christina is one of Sweden's leading genetic genealogists. She's a highly regarded speaker and educator. She was actually a guest speaker in our My Heritage Live conference in Oslo. If anyone was there, maybe you remember her. And she has founded her own company called Finding Family. And Christina uses genetic genealogy and traditional genetic genealogy and she combines it with the latest DNA technology, and that way she is helping people to find their biological families. And I know she's really, really passionate about this. And she says that her best days at work is when she helps someone find their biological parent or parents.
Amazing. It must be so rewarding.
Yeah, she does an amazing job, and she's helping people find their and discover their heritage. She said her mission in life, she says, is to help everyone discover their heritage, whether you're 7 years old or 97 years old. So, so I'm really excited to say welcome to Christina.
Great. So let's bring Christina onto the screen here. Here we go. Hello, Christina. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. I'm happy to join you.
We're so glad to have you, and what an introduction you just received there.
Yeah. Thank you, Daphna. It is true. I am passionate about this, so yeah.
Yeah, I really feel the passion that you have for this. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So hopefully some of our audience members will go home with some tips that will help them make those breakthroughs, and you'll accomplish that to a wide audience today.
Yeah, I can see that. It's I'm looking at the chat and I see people from everywhere. It's so funny to watch everyone just dropping in and saying where they are from.
Yeah, and if those of you in the audience that haven't told us yet, please do tell us where you're joining from today. We love seeing where you're tuning in from. Is this your first Facebook Live that you're joining us with at MyHeritage? Let us know. Okay, fantastic. So should we jump in? Do you want to bring up your slides and we can put them up?
I can do that.
Okay.
Can do that.
Fantastic. Okay, we're all set.
Yes, and I will just see my peak view so I know what to say too. So, researching Swedish genealogy, I just want to start with saying to you that have ancestors from Sweden, congratulations. Because Sweden and Finland, since Finland has been a part of Sweden for quite a while, has the best basis for genealogy in the world. In this presentation, I will tell you why and how you can find your ancestors. But first, Daphna gave me a great introduction, but I will tell you some more about me. I have my own roots in Sweden. My dad is 100% Swedish, and my mother is born in Helsinki in Finland. And we also have some Karelian roots that's in Russia nowadays. So Sweden, Finland, and Russia. I'm a professional genealogist. I started my own genealogy like 12 years ago. And in 2015, I started working with genetic genealogy, educating people, holding lectures like this, and doing consultations. And I just love it. We are going to look into how you can find and what information you can find in Sweden. But first, a history lesson. We have parishes in Sweden, and the first time a parish register is mentioned was 1571. So we have quite a history in our books. That register was more like of an accounting book than what we think of when we think of parish registers, I think. But in 1686, there was a new law that said that all of the population should be registered. And it was the priest in each parish who did this. Up until 1991, the Swedish Church was responsible for this population registration. And after 1991, it's the Swedish tax agency who is responsible for this. So we have quite a history of looking out for our people. No, not looking out for us. Looking into our people, knowing where they lived and which households and so on, how many children they had and so. And what records can we use when we search for our ancestors? This is from MyHeritage. You may recognize the pictures. We have, of course, the birth, the marriage, the death, and you see it's a lot of posts to scan through. All of those are registered in chronological order. And we have the household examination books. And this is a gold mine. It shows who lives in the parish, household by household. And the priest visited the household every year. Every year. You don't talk census every 10th year. They visited the household every year. So we keep track of our people. Each book contains about 5 to 10 years, and then there's a new book. So here you have this gold mine to your Swedish ancestors, because yes, you can lose them because not all priests have the best handwriting. Not all of them told us where the people moved, but you have a much better chance of finding them in these household examination books than you do when you just have census to that was drawn every 10th year to rely on. So we have a gold. I don't think we who live in Sweden understands how good this is, how spoiled we are actually. But you need 3 things to do your genealogy. You need a name of the ancestor, you need a date, preferably a birth date, and you need a place. That's your key to open the doors into the books. And what information can you find? Well, if we look at the birth records, we have this picture. And this is just an example because the amount of information can vary. And the older the books, the messier they are. This is from 1884 and it looks quite nice. If you go to a book from like 1710, it will be messy. But this looks good. And if we look at it, which information it contains, we have a serial. It starts with a serial number. The serial number, it's the 15th child to be born in this parish this year. We have the birth date, we have the baptism, the gender, and we have the child's name. And then we have the parent's name. And first is the male, and often we can read which occupation he had. Here it says arbetaren, who is like worker, or a handyman, something. Anders Erik Lindström, and his wife, Johanna Andersdotter. And we can see a small note at the end. They have been married for 20 years. It's not always this much information. Sometimes it's only the father's name and his wife with no name. You can get a bit frustrated on that one. And here also you have the number of years they've been married again. And this is the key to the household examination book. Here you see the village or the farm they live on and the page. So you go back to 1884, look for that household examination book, and you go to page 330, I think it says, and you will find the family there. And if you look at the other side, you see the father's age and the mother's age, and you see the witnesses for the baptism. And here you may find clues, because sometimes you lose people. You don't know where they move, and you have a hard time tracking them down. But if you write down all the witnesses, you may find clues, because they are often siblings, and they tend to sometimes they move to the same place where the siblings live and so on. So sometimes you get lucky and find information that way. And the last column here is notes, and I think this B-G just is a short form for the priest who attended who has written this, or maybe he was the one who did the baptism. So it's quite a lot of information in this church record. Not every book looks like this. It depends a lot of the information, but it's a good start. It's a good start. If we look at the marriage records, these two vary. We have first in this example the lysning, as we say in Swedish, the clearance of a marriage. 3 Sundays in a row in church, they said that this couple will marry to see that there isn't anything in the way of the marriage. So we see that the 20th of January, the 27th, and the 3rd of February, this clearance of a marriage took place in the church. Then we have the name of the groom and where he is from, where he's living. Not where he's born, can be the same place, but where he's from. And we see the name of the bride and where she is from. We see their birth dates and the page for the examination book. So sometimes when you lose people in Swedish records, church records, you can go back to the marriage book, because we sometimes tend to forget this source. We go for the birth, the death, and the household examination book, but we sometimes forget the marriage one. And here we have an excellent example of how much information we have. Not all priests have this. I haven't seen this before, actually. My priests, the one that have written information about my ancestors isn't this nice and tell which side in the examination book I have to look in, because they are not that nice. So I have to see for myself. And then there's some notes if they have agreed to get married, and when they got married, the date for the marriage, who conducted the marriage, and special notes. So, as I said, if you lose people, remember to check the marriage records, because you might find some good clues there. And then we have the death records. This is from 1886 in Sala. We see the number. This is the 21st death of this year. We see the death date, the burial date, the gender, the name, and occupation. In this case, it says inhyses. It's like he doesn't work anymore, but he is living with relatives and can't really support his family. and where he lived when he died. You see how old he was, and if he was married. This man was a widower, and his wife died 1864. So here we can go back to the death records for 1864 and see if there's a wife to Per Larsson who died, because often the man is stated in the death record for the women. We have cause of death. This one isn't so fun. He had been sick about a year, it says. So it's hard to tell why he died, but he had been sick for a while. And you see this priest had made a separate note that he was born 1813, the 3rd of May. So I know I have shown you good examples right now. Not all look this good, but I have to tell you what you can find. And this is kind of best in class. Not really. I found another one who I just had to show you. You will have to try to learn Swedish to understand this, but I just want to show it because I just love it. There was a priest in a parish called Hassela. It's in the middle of Sweden, who wrote biographies. So this is a biography over Elisabeth Eriksdotter, and this priest tells us that she is a widow after a soldier and his name. It states where she was born, who her parents were, where she lived, how many kids she had, when she married, where the kids live, and if they married. It's a gold mine. Not every priest does this, but when you can find these gold diggets, and it's just lovely to stumble across them. We love those priests who does this for us. So the order to work in is when you have the name, the date, and the place, you go to the parish, to the birth record, if that's the birth date you have. When you have found the parent's name and hopefully where in the parish they lived, you go to the household examination book, you look up and you get the parents' birth dates, the parents' birth info, the dates, and hopefully the parish where they were born. And then it's just to repeat. So by this way of working, you can build your tree one generation at a time. And those magical household examination books, how do they look? Well, this is an example. Also, these vary over time, both in information and readability and so on. Try to show you an example of what it could look like when it's a priest who can write, so we can see what he has written. So here you see the village in the parish where they live, and you see the occupation. It's a lot of abbreviations, but you learn them after a while. You see the name, the wife and her name, and sons and daughters. S for son and D for daughter. You see when they were born and where they were born. And you see this column is empty, and probably is because all of those who doesn't have anything here was born in this parish. But the wife, the mother, she was born in Mo parish, So we have to go to Mo Parish to find her information. We see their marriage date. We see if they have moved to this village. We can see it here. This family lived here when they started this book, so we don't have any information. But we have here a column for death. So they lost one of their children. He got to be about half-year-old, I think. And then we have some information on how well they read and how much Christian knowledge they had. And if we look at the other side, we see here an example of proof, maybe, that they did this every year, because this is a check mark that the people in this household was present on this examination day, and that they have taken this community. So you can see the check marks is for the examination, and this is the date for a community. And here you have this. I love this one because this special notes sections, here you can find almost anything. You can find, I think this one is a military record, but you can find information if they moved somewhere to get married, if they have been sent to prison. This man has a mental illness, and he has been taken into hospital because of it, and it says when. So you can find a lot of information, and sometimes I love looking for unknown fathers, and sometimes you have a note here so that says that this man has taken responsibility for being father of this child, and it might be the only note that exists. So always look at those notes. And if they move, there is a note here. So you see that they have moved, and it says, I think it says 373. So that's the page in this book, or the next one, the next book that they have moved to, and which date. So here you can follow families through time, and we recommend that you follow a family book by book, because you can gather so much information. I have found so many fun facts about my ancestors, not always nice ones. The priest could be quite mean sometimes. One of my ancestors was called a big hypocrite, I think you translated to, a liar. She had four children with unknown fathers, so I don't know, I think she had quite a tough life. And also this information can vary over time depending on which book you are looking in, and the further back you go, the more hard to read they are. And I just have some warning to give you. We don't do surnames in Sweden. I know many of you who is listening are from like the United States or England or something, or Ireland. I saw someone too. And you can often follow a line of surnames back in time, maybe thousands of years, maybe even further back than that. But in Sweden earlier, we changed many people change name in every generation. Every generation. And it's called, this is a hard one, I think, to pronounce in Swedish too. So, but I will do my best. Patronymics, I think it's in English. And it's like this. If Nils Andersson has a son named Eric, then Eric's surname is Nilsson. Nils' son, not Anders' son. Andersson. And if he has a daughter named Sarah, then Sarah's surname is Nils' dotter. Nils' daughter, not Anders' son. And this was common until about 1890. You can find it further, more recent in the countryside. But it's a great way to get clues, because since they get a son or a daughter in addition to the father's first name, we know that Nils Andersson's father's first name is Anders. So we can, when we look for people, we know we have to look for some Nils Andersson who has Anders as a father. And also another naming convention is a common naming of children is this. It was often so that the first son got the first name of his paternal grandfather. He had the same name as his paternal grandfather. And the second son got the first name that was the same as his maternal grandfather. So if you see on if you don't have the father's name, and for some people, soldiers and other people, and in the 18th century they took surnames, so it might be hard to track down people sometimes. But if the first son of an Holmström was Anders, then you can guess that Eric's father was an Anders. And the same is for the girls, the daughters. She got the first name that was the same as her paternal grandmother, and the second daughter got the same name as her maternal grandmother. I am, as you said, I am doing a lot of genetic genealogy, and one thing we do a lot as genetic genealogists is searching for living relatives, because we want to find someone to take a DNA test on to prove something, or to find that paternal line or that maternal line, to do a haplogroup test or whatever. And how do you do that in Swedish? How do you find living relatives? If you don't go to Facebook, it's a great way to find living relatives. But we have what we call the principle of openness in Sweden. And that's basically information about names, birth dates, addresses, and parents are open information for everyone. So you can just contact the Swedish tax agency to gather that information about anyone in Sweden. So you can call there, ask for my parents, and they will give you that information. As long as I'm not adopted, which I'm not. Because that falls under classified information. And we have classified information in Sweden, and adoption is one of them. And the time limit is 70 years. You can always get classified information about yourself, or if you can prove that you are representing the person concerned. And this also does that. If you have a church record book like this examination books or birth records, the archives don't publish the volume until the 70 years has passed for the last note in that volume. So say that a priest like 20 years ago wrote some information that is classified in a church book. That information won't be made public until 50 years from now. But you can ask for this information through the National Archives and the Swedish Tax Agency. So you can get classified information and information in those books that are not released yet, or those archives that are not released yet, are open. It's just some notes that are classified, so you can ask for them and see if they can help you get it. I want to finish off with pointing you to some websites for Swedish genealogy. We have MyHeritage, of course, with the 176 million records, as you can get very far just using MyHeritage. We also have the National Archive, Riksarkivet, and they have, it's free to search in the National Archive in Sweden. You have to register to create an account, but it's free. And it's in English. I think you can translate the page to English. And they can also help you if you get stuck, so you can hire help from them. And they have a lot of fun information in there. And you also have Archiv Digital, that has photographed a lot of records and have a lot of registers who eases up the search quite a bit. They're a private company, so you have to have you have to pay to see the records, and you pay per month or per year. But this is three of the great sites for doing Swedish genealogy. And with that, I guess you have a ton of questions. So I will open up for questions and just say thank you. And this is tack. Tack is thank you in Swedish.
Thank you, Christina. Tack. And we do have some questions from the audience that we'd love to bring to you. So first of all, for anyone who's new or who isn't aware, you can rewatch Christina's session today on the MyHeritage Facebook page under the videos section. So after the session is over, it will be recorded and it will be uploaded there. So in case you miss anything or you want to rewatch it, it is available there. Please do take a look, as well as all of our past Facebook Lives that we've done. They are all available there. Lots and lots of great content. So we suggest that you go and check it out. So we have a lot of interesting comments and questions. I see that Ken Williams wrote us and said, I have 104 matches in Sweden, and I found one distant cousin who shared an incredible GEDCOM with me that goes back 1,000 years. That's
wow.
incredible, incredible.
Yeah. You can, if you're lucky and you get into like priests or nobility, you can go that far back. But if you have just farmers and workers, I would be skeptical if someone sent me a 1,000-year genealogy.
Let's see. So now I'll bring you some of the questions that we have. Lloyd asks, he says, my big question, is there any pattern for those in patrimony and those not, like a region?
No, I think it was quite common in all of Sweden, but it's more like a time matter. It was it's more like in which time you're looking, I think, and also occupations, because we have some communities did surnames more than others, but the farmers, if you see the farmers, the common people did patronymics.
Shelley asks, she says, having known Scottish ancestors, I suspect my very minor Scandinavian ethnicity came from ancient Vikings. When did the Vikings settle in Scotland?
Oh, I don't know. I have honestly no idea. I don't have that. I'm sure someone in this audience might know that better than me. I don't have the numbers. History wasn't my favorite subject in school. It has changed over the years, but I don't have the timelines for the Scottish. But I think that we have always had migration and traffic over the seas, and I think it's good to know that, and that you can have there can be Swedes who have Scottish ancestors who you are related to, as well as you have Vikings. I don't know. I know that people don't want me to take the Vikings away, so I won't do that. But it can be the other way around too, that the Swede has Scottish ancestry.
Okay, there was an interesting question here from Kathy. She asked, when people stopped using patronymic surnames, from where did they get their surnames?
They chose it. At that time, they could choose it randomly. Often you can tell from where in the country they live. They could take like, we have a lot of people up north who's named Marklund or Lundmark, and then we know, okay, you're from the north, and they took a name that was connected to the village or to the parish. Some kept the soldier names, but back then they could choose, and they could change from generation, and you can have a father with one surname that wasn't a patronymics, and the children had chosen a lot of others. So it's hard. Nowadays, you have to apply, and you can't take any name you like. You have to get it approved.
Okay. I see Shelley said, thank you. Very interesting. This was a great talk. Oh, and I see Maria answered our questions about the Vikings, and she said the Viking invasions of Scotland occurred from 793 to 1266, when the Scandinavian Vikings, predominantly Norwegians, launched several seaborne raids and invasions. So that's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Maria. We appreciate that. So let's see if we have any more questions here. Amy asks, she says, my husband's great-great-grandfather's name was Magnus Frederick Magnusson. So that's great. But who was most likely Magnus? How do I find out what his father was?
Yeah, if you can find Magnus Fredrik Magnusson in the records, start there. Try to find him in some household examination books. See if you can find him in the birth records, because either in the household examination book when he lives with his father, or in the birth records, you will find the Magnus, the father Magnus. Let's see. I don't know where Esther went. Are you there? I don't see her, but I saw a question it was Trevor who said he had 23.2 Scandinavian DNA, but had no idea where the connection was in his family tree. With a high percentage, is it possible that the connection could be recent, or could it still be many generations back? When you're talking about, I don't know if this, I guess this is on MyHeritage, and when you have 23.2 Scandinavian DNA on MyHeritage today, it's quite an accurate number, I would say. But you can have it for a lot of generations way back. It doesn't mean that you have a grandparent that is Scandinavian. Doesn't have to mean that. It just can mean that you have a lot of DNA that is alike Scandinavian DNA, and that you have Scandinavian ancestors further back. But it's quite a lot, and since the numbers has improved so much over the years, you definitely have a Scandinavian heritage, but I wouldn't say that you must have an grandparent that is Scandinavian. It can be further back.
And I'm sure there are plenty of people who, uncover some Scandinavian DNA and don't know where it comes from. So that must be common.
Yeah, it is, and we have to remember the how DNA works, because if you have ancestors from the northern Sweden, for example, they are much related to each other in many ways, which means that the DNA stays longer in people. So you can have DNA for a long time, and when the immigration took place, when people immigrated to the US, they often married and got children within the Swedish community. So they shared the DNA for generations. So it might look like it's more recent than it is, because it's like this bottleneck thing.
Okay, I think we're going to give our giveaway now of one complete plan to MyHeritage, which, Christina, as you know, is an excellent prize.
Yes, it is.
And all the records that Christina talked about, the Sweden household records, all the Swedish collections, they're all available with this complete plan that we're giving away to one lucky winner, as well as advanced DNA tools, all of our photo tools, which we didn't really talk about too much today. But if you haven't checked them out yet, then please do. So lots and lots of fantastic things that come with the MyHeritage Complete Plan and make it just the best plan that we have to offer. So today's complete plan goes to Sam Yu. Congratulations, Sam. And Sam wrote to us and he said, I have many stories of discoveries through the Swedish household examination books. I got a DNA match with a second cousin's daughter. She had not found the father of her grandmother since her granny was born out of wedlock. I found this person from the birth record and was able to trace this seaman's family history through various examination books. A small story of my own grandmother's parents. Since they were both deaf, mute, the priest made a note of this in the household examinations books. So it kind of reminds me of your story, Christina, about your relatives being listed as hypocrites.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes these records so special, is all those notes and all the different details that maybe other sets of records don't include, which is just so nice.
Yeah, it gives you more flesh on the bones, so to speak.
Incredible. So congratulations, Sam, and we'll be in touch with you through private message to claim your prize. Thank you to all of you for joining us in the audience from near and from far. We're Swedish expert, and we're just so grateful today.
Thank you for having me. It has been really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. And to all of you out there, have a great day, have a great night, and we'll see you later. Bye, everybody.